In this video, we are going to show you how to thread the upper thread path of the Lockstitch machines. To start, you're going to place your cone or spool of thread on the left spool holder, and you're going to bring your thread directly up to the hole or the thread guide that's directly above the spool holder that you're using. We're going to bring our thread from the back towards the front. Sometimes it's hard to see the little hole from the back. So the thread or the spool holder and the thread guides do move. So if you need to rotate that so that you can see what you're doing and get it through the hole, that is an option. You just want to make sure that once you've got it in there, that you bring it back to its original position so that it's ready to go for sewing. The next step on our thread path is this tension wheel on the top of the machine. If you look closely, there is a hole underneath the tension discs. So we're going to bring our thread again from the back to the front through that hole. And then we're going to bring it up and over counterclockwise through these two tension discs. And I would recommend kind of sticking your finger in there and making sure that the thread is in between the two tension discs. If it's behind the tension discs, you won't get the tension you need and your stitches will have problems later. So always double check that your thread is actually in between those two discs. From there, we are going to come to this thread guide on the kind of front top of the machine, and we are going to take our thread through the top hole from right to left, and then we're going to bring it back around and we're going to go through the bottom hole, also right to left. You can kind of double check that you've got it threaded correctly because you should see a slight S, a very skinny one, as the thread goes in and around that thread guide. Next, you're going to come down to the primary tension discs of the machine, and you're going to bring your thread down and through the plates again and underneath clockwise. Again, this one, I would recommend kind of sticking your finger in there and making sure that your thread is actually in between the two plates so that you're getting the right tension from your machine. From there, you're going to look for this little wire hook that is at the top of those tension discs, and you're going to hook your thread into it. From there, we're going to go to this metal hook on the left side of the tension discs, and we're going to go underneath and hook through there. And then we're going to come to this clip at the top of right above the tension discs. If we bring the thread to the right side, it will clip right in and be behind that hook. From there, we're going to go to our thread take-up lever, which is this moving part that is behind this handle and protective piece. You want to make sure that when you're threading your machine that thread take-up lever is at the very top. So if it isn't when you get to here or before you start is the best time to do it, use your hand wheel to make sure that thread take-up lever is all the way at the top. If it is, which ours is, we're ready to send our thread through there. So we're going to thread from right to left. And make sure your thread doesn't tangle or catch anywhere. It very much likes to get caught on things around the tension plates again, as we're going through other thread guides. So from here, we're going to move to kind of this side of the machine. I'm going to change our angle a little bit so you can see better. There's another clip thread guide right here. We're just going to slide our thread in from the left and it'll clip into that guide. And then we're going to come down to our needle area. Here at the very top is a thread guide. It kind of swivels, so you want to double check that the loop that's holding your thread is right at the front of your needle shaft that'll move up and down. And then you want to kind of bring your thread off to the right and behind, and it will hook right into there. Next, there is a little hole right here at the top of your needle. We're going to go through that from front to back, really just sort of front downward. Once we're through that hole, we're ready to actually thread our needle. If you look closely at your needle, you'll notice that unlike a domestic machine, the eye of our needle is going from side to side. So you're going to come from the left side and thread towards the right side. So that direction is really, really important. Always thread your needle from the left to the right. At this point, sometimes it can be difficult to get to the eye of the needle. So you can adjust the position of your needle. If you need to bring the needle a little higher, you can. It can also sometimes be helpful to use tweezers that can hold the thread a little bit closer than you can to get it to go through the eye. And it may just take a minute or a few tries. You can also use a needle threader. If your thread is a bit fuzzy at the tip and having a really hard time going through, you can trim off so you have a nice clean thread tip. And if you trim off at a 45-degree angle from the thread, you get a nice sharp point to the tip of your thread, and it can make it easier to get that tip through the eye of your needle. There we go. Once we're through, you want to kind of pull your thread through. Make sure that it's not tangling or wrapping around your needle point as you pull that loop closed. And then the last step that you want to do is go ahead and raise your presser foot and bring that thread tail so it is in that needle space in the presser foot, and the thread tail is pulled to the back. You always want to start sewing with your thread tail to the back. So at this point, the upper thread path of your machine is threaded, and you're ready to move on to the next step. Once you have your top thread path threaded, you probably want to double check, make sure that everything's gone through the thread guides the way that it's supposed to and that there's not any tangles or catches anywhere. And if you're ever uncertain or want to double check, around the studio, you'll see quite a few of these sheets that show you the thread path for the Lockstitch machines. So you just kind of have to make sure that your thread is following the red line. There's also kind of zoomed in portions where there's lots of thread guides. So I strongly recommend you grab one of these sheets and that you double check that your machine is threaded correctly before you start sewing every single time. Misthreaded machines are the #1 cause of sewing trouble. So always double check, and these guides are here to help you whenever you need them.